Right, welcome. What we're going to do is carry on with this series about how to become a journalist. And I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. Maybe you don't want to become a journalist, but you're just interested in what we do and how we do it. And I'm talking about proper journalists, right? And that leads to the question, what is a journalist? And these days, that's a very good question. Let me say, first of all, though, I've got this course on Udemy, online course. 4,500 students have been through there. And it's proved, of course, really popular with people. That costs you money, not much money, but it costs you a bit of money. I'm doing this for free now, right, on here. I want to reach a bigger audience, and I think it's time to expand it out a bit, so that here we are. You'll be able to, in due course, ask me questions on one-on-one, get advice from me, ask me about, if you've got a tricky headline or an intro or how you go about a story. So that'll be coming. You'll be able to do that. I've been in the business for 45 years now, worked across pretty much every media there is. And I'm a group editor at the moment on a group of newspapers near Sydney in Australia. Anyway, let's talk about what a journalist is. And it is a very good question. Most of us probably think we know what a journalist is and does, but the rise of social media and podcasting have muddied the waters like never before. They pose questions we've never had to ask before, right? Now, back in the days before the internet, there was a time, yes, when it didn't exist. You got your news from mainstream media. That was newspapers, TV or radio. That was it. There wasn't anything else. Or, of course, the bloke you bumped into on the street, though in his case, what he told you wasn't always true. It's a mixture of probably some facts and also a bit of fiction and also just gossip. That bloke and all the others like him, most of them are well-meaning but often short on facts. That's the equivalent of today's social media, where an increasing number of folks now go to as their main news source, and it's not a news source. And I'll tell you why in a minute. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast recently. Rogan said mainstream media, as he called it, in a derogatory way, had to be concerned, he said, because all those independent journalists, as he called them, are out there now telling the truth, he said. Rogan's wrong. Those independent journalists, by and large, are not journalists, right? Or most of them aren't. They're just people with an opinion or an axe to grind who, thanks to the digital transformation, have now got a platform. And some of them like to style themselves as journalists. The danger here is some people, sometimes very many people, are listening to these folks, agreeing with them, believing everything they say. And that's one reason why you need proper journalists. So what does a journalist do and why are they important? Journalists are after the facts, that's for sure. We're not after opinion, we're after facts. We don't mind other people giving their opinion, but we're not going to give ours, right? We're simply the conduits, the pipeline along which the story flows to the people. There is a single fact to every story, or there are several linked facts depending on the story, but there are no alternative facts. That's simply a phrase that's been used and bandied about now to cloud, misinform, raise doubts. We're in a business as journalists of reporting clarity and truth to readers. A journalist, he or she sifts the wheat from the chaff to get at the core details to find out what the important point of the story is. We get rid of the nonsense, right? We write balanced stories. Both sides get a chance to talk, have their views or stories represented. We don't put our opinion in stories, not unless it's an editorial or it's a personal column, which is when you can do that. We're fair. We don't exaggerate or dramatise or sensationalise. And yes, I realise some media have those elements as their stock in trade, but it's not a good way to go. Tell the truth. You don't need to embellish it. You don't need to gloss it up. You don't need to make it more dramatic than it is. People just want the truth. That's what they want. Okay, the other thing is we're also more than simply people who are producing this news, I guess, in that we have a power, just as many of the influencers do, just as many of the so-called independent journalists do. They have a following, right? And the more you have, the more powerful you are as a person who's talking on the microphone. And it's a heady feeling, you know, it's a heady feeling when you realise that there's 22,000 people listening to you, let alone 22 million, for example, or even more in some people's cases, like Joe Rogan, gives you a power, that is for sure, okay? So you've got to use that responsibly, right? You're not using it to try and further, you know, your career. You're using it, hopefully, because people trust you. They've come to you and trust you. So you've got to keep that trust. Above all, we should be about serving the community we work in or the community we report to and help people get their news in a truthful, honest manner. Thank you. Right, that's about it with that one. And I'll be back soon with another video and we'll continue this journey. So, yeah, do subscribe. It's important you do. Then you'll get to know when new posts go on. Rightio. Thank you.